Hello and welcome everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about Azure Active Directory multi-factor authentication. First, we'll try to understand what is MFA. Multi-factor authentication is an extra layer of authentication to confirm the identity of the user. This will actually help to secure user accounts even if their passwords are compromised, as they need to pass the multi-factor authentication to log into the devices or application where MFA is configured. Now, we will go and perform the hands-on lab on the multi-factor authentication. I have divided these steps. Like first, we will understand MFA overview in the Azure portal. I'm in the Azure portal. I'm going to click on the Azure Active Directory. In the Azure Active Directory, I'm going to click on Users Blade. In the Users Blade, you can see currently only one user is available, that is Cloudlearner. If you want to create new users in this particular page, you can go and click on the new user option, which is available on the top. Now we will understand multi-factor authentication overview by clicking on the per user MFA option, which is available on the screen. Once you click on it, it will take you to another browser web page where you can see the web page URL as account.activedirectory.windowsazure.com. So this is the multi-factor authentication page. Here you can see users option, service settings option. Users option will list you all the users that are available in your Active Directory, Azure Active Directory. Service settings is nothing but what are the settings that you have configured in your multi-factor authentication. If I go and click on the service settings, it will display me what are the settings that are configured in the multi-factor authentication. You can see the verification options. We have text message, we have a notification through mobile app, or you can get the verification code from the mobile app. So depending on your requirement, you can configure this multi-factor authentication service settings as per your requirement. So here in this scenario or in this example, I'm going with the 3 verification options, which is text message, notification to mobile app, and the verification to mobile app. So we will divide the steps of configuration into multiple areas. So for now, I have given the overview of multi-factor authentication. We'll go to the next step, whereas in the next step, we'll try to create 2 user accounts in the Azure Active Directory, one with block sign-in yes and one with block sign-in no. First, we'll create the user accounts in Active Directory. For that, I'm going to click on new user in the Active Directory page. So just go to the Active Directory page in the Azure portal, and then here click on the new user option. So once you click on it, you can click on create new user. Here provide the username. So I'm going to create the username as TestUser1. So in the username option, I'm typing TestUser1, which will follow the user principal name as Cloudlearner002 outlook.onmicrosoft.com. So this will be the UPN name. And then I'm providing the user name here, the name of the user as TestUser1 and the first name. And after that, I'm providing the last name. Then we can go to the password section. In the password, I'm going to use auto-generated password, and I'll click on the show password here, which will display the password to me. And I'll copy this user principal name as well as password to a notepad, because after creation, I want to test this user account by logging into Azure portal. So I'm copying the password also as well as the user UPN name. Okay. Then I'm going to the next option. In the next option, I will be assigning a role and I will be adding a user to a group. So I'll click on the group and I'm selecting one group here, which is available. After that, if you want to add a user to a particular group, you can click on role here, and then you can select the role for which you want to add this user. In case if I want to add the user to a global reader, for example, or global administrator, I can select any one of this role and I can click on select so that the user will be added to this particular role. Then here comes the main thing, block sign-in. If you want to block the user login, you can click on yes. If you want to allow the user login, you can click on no. So I'm clicking on no so that the user login will be allowed here. Then I'm going to select the user location. It is as India here in this example. Then I'm going to provide job info, like the job title will be IT engineer. And then the department will be IT department. and company name will be some example company. So you can just give some random information here because we are doing some labs. So if you are working in an organization, you will follow the standard procedure by filling these details as per the company standard. And manager name, in case if you want to add a manager for this particular user, you can add. If not, you can just click on create. You can see three role is created, user is created, and even user is added to a group, successfully completed. Once you click on refresh here, you will be able to see the user ID that we created. So same likewise, we'll create another user now, but we'll create the another user with block sign in as yes. So now I'll click on create new user. This new user will create as TestUser2. So the UPN will be TestUser2 at the rate Cloudlearner002 outlook.onmicrosoft.com. And the name is TestUser2. After that, I'll provide the first name as test and last name as user2. Same here also, I'm using the auto generated password and I'm copying UPN name and the password to a notepad for testing purpose. After that, I'm going to groups and roles. Here, as per our wish, if I want to add a user to the group, I can add the user to the group. If I want to add a user to role, I can add it. Next comes to the block sign-in. So I'm going to enable block sign-in as yes, and then I'm going to select the location as India. After that, same job information if you want to provide, you can provide, and manager details if you want to provide, you can provide those details as well. In this example, I'm giving job title as BPO user, job department as BPO team, and company name as example.com. So this is the details that I'm providing, and I'm going to click on create button so that this user also will be created in the same Active Directory tenant. After that, if you want to add a user to a particular role, or if you want to add a user to a particular group, you can add it. In this example, I have not added to any role. I have not added user to any group. If I click on refresh, you will be able to see the two users that I have created in the Azure portal. Now I can see two user IDs are created in the Azure Active Directory portal. Now we will go to the next step. That is the testing of this user accounts by logging into Azure portal, where it will ask for some multi-factor authentication settings. Now we will log into Azure portal with the TestUser1 without enabling multi-factor authentication for this ID. I'm opening a web browser. Here I'm opening a web browser in the incognito window. In this incognito window, I'm typing portal.azure.com in the search engine. Here it is asking me to enter the user ID. If you remember, I have created two user IDs in the Azure Active Directory. First one is TestUser1 and the second one is TestUser2. I have already noted down the credentials of this TestUser1 and TestUser2 in a notepad. I'll use the TestUser1 ID that I have saved here, and I'll paste this ID in the sign in page. I'll click on next. Then I'll enter the password that is already noted in the notepad. I'll enter the password here and click on sign in. Once I click on sign in, it is asking me to update the password because this is the default feature of Azure Active Directory. Whenever you're trying to log in to your account for the first time, you will have to change the password as the security feature. So once I click on sign in, it is asking me to set up the MFA. Since it is not enabled for this ID, it is an optional feature for this. So we can click on skip or we can click on next. If I click on next, right, it will ask me to download some authenticator app or follow some steps. But in this video, I'm not looking to enable MFA. So I'm going back to this sign in option where I have option to skip this MFA. I'm clicking on back and I'm going to the page where I have option to skip the MFA. If I click on skip for now, it will allow me to log into the portal without configuring MFA. So if I click on next, you will be able to see that I can log into Azure portal without configuring or without passing the multi-factor authentication. In the next step, we will enable MFA for the test user and we'll log into the same Azure portal and see what are the changes of options we can see. I'm going to Azure Active Directory. Here you can see the users that we created. In the MFA page, just refresh, it will display TestUser1. Click on TestUser1, the checkbox, and you can see enable option here. If you click on enable, you will get enable multi-factor authentication. Click on it and click on close. You can see the status as enabled for test user 1. Again, select the checkbox for test user 1. You will get the option to disable it. So click on disable option to disable the MFA for the test user 1. So this is the process of enabling and disabling MFA for the users in the multi-factor authentication page. Since this task is to enable MFA for the test user 1, we will check the test user 1 user ID. After that, we'll enable the multi-factor authentication. I'll click on enable and I'll click on enable multi-factor authentication. After that, I'll click on close. This will enable multi-factor authentication option for the test user 1. Now we will go back to the incognito window where we logged in with test user 1, and I will sign out from this page. Once after I sign out from the page, you will be able to see already one account is logged in, test user 1. I'm using the same account now because we have enabled MFA for this account only. So I'll click on this user account and I'll enter the password that I have changed in the previous task. Once after entering credentials, if I click on next, see it is not giving me option to skip the MFA. Because we have enabled MFA for this user ID in the MFA page, it is not allowing me to skip now. I'll have to mandatorily configure the MFA for this user ID in the user mobile or user device. So for this, I'll have to click on next, and after that I'll have to follow the instructions that will be displayed on the screen. See, once I click on next, it is taking me to a page where it is saying to download Microsoft Authenticator app. So you can download the Microsoft Authenticator app, and after that you can go and click on this next button. So you can download it for Apple mobiles or normal Android mobiles also. Once after downloading the Microsoft Authenticator app, you have to set up your account. So you will have to open your Microsoft Authenticator app and you have to set up your account by clicking a work or school option, and after click on next. Once you click on work or school option, you will get an option to scan this QR code. So in your mobile, using your Microsoft Authenticator app, you can able to scan this, and after that click on next. Then what it does means it will create an account in your Microsoft Authenticator app, and it will send one notification to your Authenticator app to approve it. So I got a request. I have already configured using the same steps in my mobile, and I have approved it as well. Now you can see notification is approved. I'm clicking on next. Once I click on next, right, you will be able to see the Microsoft Authenticator app was successfully registered. So that means the device I'm using, I'm able to register MFA for the user successfully. That is the notification it was displaying there. And now you can see I have logged into this Microsoft Azure portal with the test user 1 with enabling MFA. Now I will again log out from this browser. I will again log in back to this browser again. So I'll click on the test user 1. After that, I'll enter the password. Once after entering the password, I'll click on sign in. Now this time, when I enter the password and when I click on sign in, right, it will not ask me to enable MFA again because I have already enabled. What it does means it will send one notification to my mobile. Password I'm entering wrong. Let me enter the right password. Okay, now I'm going to click on sign in. Once I click on sign in, right, now it is going to say me approve sign in request. So I got a request in my mobile. I'm going to approve it. Once I approve only, it will allow test user 1 to log into Azure portal. So this is the security, guys, that we are going to apply to the user IDs in the organizations by enabling MFA. Now we will perform the final task in this lab, that is log in with test user and validate if TestUser2 login will be blocked. I'm going to incognito window. Here I'll try to access portal.azure.com with TestUser2 credentials and confirm you that user account will be blocked because we have set block sign in equal to S for this particular user ID. So I'm logging in with TestUser2 credentials. Once I enter the password, it will throw an error message to me. So the error message is, your account has been locked, contact your support person to unlock it. But here the actual reason is not about account lockout. It is the block sign in for this account is set to yes. So to change it, I'm going back to that particular user in Azure Portal AD. Here I'm going to click on edit settings, and here I'm going to click on settings option. You can see account enable. I'm checking that box and I'm going to click on save. So once I click on save, this particular user properties will be updated and user will get the permissions to log into the Azure portal. So normally sometimes if that is not working, you'll have to wait for a couple of minutes of time. After that, you can go and log into the particular portals. So we have updated the user properties. So now user will be able to log into Azure portal. I came back to the incognito window. Here I'm going back to the portal.azure login page. Again, I'll supply this TestUser2 credentials. So I'm entering the user ID. I'm pasting the password. So once I paste the password, it will allow me to change the password. It is not giving me error message now because we have edited the properties of TestUser2. So I'm going to create a new password to log into the Azure portal, and I'll click on sign in. So once I click on sign in, it is allowing me to log into the Azure portal. Here you can see it is asking me to enable MFA. So I'm going to click on skip because I'm not willing to enable MFA now, and I'm clicking on yes. You can see TestUser2 is able to log in to the Azure portal after we update the properties of TestUser2 ID. So this is a simple video about Azure Active Directory MFA, guys. Here comes the end of the session. So if you are liking the content that I'm uploading in the YouTube channel, please subscribe to my channel, and in fact you can share my channel with your friends for whom it will be helpful. Thank you so much.